Hi, Cyndee Haydon here. And today is May 6th. And if you are like me and you are in the Tampa Bay market from Clearwater, St. Pete, Tampa, Pasco area, there's a lot of people wondering what is going on with the Tampa Bay real estate market. So I put together some information so that once again, we can bring you the facts and not the fear of what is going on. One of the things that I'll go through in a little while is the local market, but basically, as with all things, price is determined by supply and demand. So in real estate, we look at that as the number of months of inventory that we have. So if there were 12 houses and one sold each month, that would be 12 months of inventory. So looking in the Tampa Bay real estate market and nationally, we are seeing that we continue to be in a seller's market. Just to give you the facts for the Hillsborough, Pinellas, and Pasco markets right now, the current supply for single family homes is 2.44 months in Hillsborough, and a little over 3 months in Pinellas County, and just over 2 months in Pasco County. So to give you an idea, we're still way down here in this market, even as we go through the COVID-19. So you can see normally as you go above 3, you start approaching more of a neutral market. And then when it gets above 7 months, more of a buyer's market. So in Pinellas County, let's take a look at single family homes in March and what they did. So actually the amount that people paid for houses was up 8.3% year over year to $287,000 was the average. So what I put down here is, who does it favor, the seller or the buyer? So this one favored the sellers. And then, okay, did more or fewer houses sell? Well, actually, we had 23% less houses sell. So there's fewer houses for sale, which again, that makes it more of a seller's market with that inventory, less options for buyers. And then did we have more or less sell as we headed into COVID-19? We actually had 3.7 more sell. So on the single family home side, it was pretty good news for sellers. Now, when it comes to months of inventory, we actually saw in March, and again, coming off a heavy spring, that we were down from 3 months of inventory for single family homes down to 2.2. So then the question is, how long is it taking to go under contract? And what we saw is the time to contract was from 30 days down to 21 days. Now, one of the things people talk about is, okay, what's the, are people going to be forfeiting their homes? Are there a lot of foreclosures or bargains? And interestingly enough, in the month of March, there were less than 2% of homes that sold were in foreclosure, and it was actually down 33% year over year. Now, in Pinellas County, the Pinellas Realtor Organization, where I am currently chairman of the board, I had developed these graphics to share that they are actually producing now daily. So this looks at a 4-week rolling average, and this is showing what the last 7 days, the last 14 days, 21, and then 30. So what's important to see here as you look at it is look at how the number of homes going under contract keeps rising. Now, this is the month of April when we have mostly been sheltered in at place or in home. I'll tell you from my own experience, we've personally helped 9 buyers and sellers in this period. So what I'm seeing is the serious buyers and sellers, the ones that have a reason and motivation to move, are making decisions. Now, the other thing to look at is we did see a little bit over the last 4 weeks, a little bit fewer number sold. So we'll be looking for that number to hopefully come rising up. And on the single family homes, we're seeing a few more hit the market. But what's interesting to note is that we're still not outpacing and making up our shortfall that we already have. Now let's look at condos. In the condo townhome market, when we look at what March numbers showed us, it was that the price was actually up 10.6% over March of 2019 to an average, a median price of $188,000. So again, that would favor the seller. And then were there more townhomes or less? And we had 15% less to sell. So again, that means there's less inventory. So supply and demand would go to the seller again. Now, here's the first time we see something start to flip for the buyer. So in March 2020, did we sell more or less homes than we did the year before? We actually sold 8.2% fewer condos in March than we did a year ago. Now, we went into the year with 30% less to sell in general. So again, without going into any extreme extrapolations, it is something that we will be watching for you. However, you would expect to actually sell fewer because there is less of a pool for the buyers to choose from as well. So then inventory, meaning how many properties are there to sell? And so we actually in the condo market saw it go from 3.5 to 3.1 months in March. We will expect to maybe see that number increase as we go into April. How long did it take once it was on the market to get a contract that was accepted? This went from 34 days to 27 days. So again, that was, in the favor of the seller. And then in the condo market, how many of those properties were in foreclosure that sold? And you can see it's less than 1.5%. Now here's the condominium for the last rolling month from the Pinellas Realtor Organization. And what you do start to see here is that in the condo market, the solds are dropping a little, which in many cases, what we saw here in Pinellas County is a lot of condo communities were restricting the ability of buyers and sellers to see the property, buyers and sellers to move in and out of the property. So again, this is the market that we would expect to see some of those numbers. How temporary, we will start to know as we go a little further. But you do notice more and more properties coming on the market. And then in the last 2 weeks, you start to see more properties going under contract. So again, that's an important stat to watch. So I wanted to just say, okay, we always have to look back 30 days. So those are March numbers and we've passed through April. We're now sitting at May 6th. So I wanted to just take a quick moment and give you a snapshot of what is happening right in the last 7 days. So look at this. In Pinellas, Hillsborough, and Pasco County put together, we had 721 new properties come on the market for sale. That's great news. But notice that we actually had 867 properties get sold and 1,191 properties got accepted offers on them. Now, if you add solds and pendings, you almost had 3 times as many properties going off the market that way than we had coming on. So again, this includes all types of property across that 3-county area. But it is important to see that, again, the supply and demand is still currently weighing in the favor of the seller. Now, that being said, it is important, depending on where you are, to find out what homes and properties in the band of price that you are in. And I'll give you an example. I had a friend introduce me to someone who asked about a beach condo in Indian Rocks Beach last week, and they were in the $700,000 to $800,000 price range. So when you look at that price range, it currently had 12 months of inventory. So what that means is that it could take 12 months for a property to sell. And in that case, really having to look at, are you the best condition or the best price to have a shot at maybe condensing that time. So while we're talking today about the general aggregate numbers being 2 or 3 months of supply, as you get into certain neighborhoods, certain markets, and certain price points, those numbers can swing greatly, which is why we do offer a free pinpoint price analysis, and we would give you a professional equity evaluation, because right now more than 50% of the people have more than 50% equity in their properties and they have a lot of options. The other thing I'll just touch on that people are asking about is price decreases. And in the last 7 days, 6% of the properties adjusted their price downward, 3% adjusted them upward. Again, I can tell you that we put a property on the market last weekend in Madeira Beach. It was priced well in the market range, and we had multiple offers, and we had over 15 people make appointments to come out and see it, even though we had virtual tours, 360 tours, and a virtual open house. So those offers were at and above asking. And again, it just goes to show you that the properties that are best in class, good condition, good price, people are out there and looking, even though we are still just coming out of that shelter in place. So what are buyers doing now? I think it's important to look at in March, before COVID-19 really hit, because we really saw the impact in April. It was, we were stable, but people were active. You can see here across the country, a lot of buyers were really strong and in that heading into spring season. But then what happened is, COVID-19 hit, and we really saw, I want to show this because the message I want Floridians and Tampa Bay people to know in the Clearwater, St. Pete, Tampa area is we are not New York. My heart goes out to the people in the Northeast who are dealing with this on a completely different level. But here's what you need to know. In New York, on March 29th, the showings that were requested year over year were down 97.4%. Now, fast forward to May 4th, they are still down 70%. So again, because of the health concerns and the issues they're dealing with, their market is very different than ours. Take a look at Florida. So we on April 6th saw our showings go down by 64%. So you see that here. And now you see in less than a month, we are up to just being down 22%, which is pretty amazing considering that Monday, May 4th was when we sort of moved to phase 1 and a lot of things opened back up. So again, this will go into why many of us talk about a V recovery, a bounce. Again, in our area, the Tampa Bay market was identified as one of the top 10 markets to outperform in the country over the next 3 to 5 years. And I think what we're seeing is people still want to live here. And as we're looking at it, the home ownership rates have gone back up since 2016. And really, one of the major reasons for that we're seeing is because the cost of rent continues to escalate to where people who are currently renting could do better by purchasing, and especially with the lower interest rates. So again, that hasn't fallen off, and we do still have a large percentage of people looking to move into that home ownership. Now, the Z report said, we note that inventory as a percent of households sits at the lowest level ever. And that's what we're talking about, supply and demand. So now let's look at sellers. When we looked in February, in the Florida market, the seller traffic was stable. Again, we were heading into a typically busy time for us. And then look at March. It really saw sellers across the country pull back, assess COVID-19, worry about health and safety, especially homes that are owner occupied. And really we all stepped back and said, okay, how do we do real estate in a new way? And so what's interesting about that is that for many professionals like me, we went to doing 360 tours. We did virtual video walkthroughs, and we did virtual open houses, as well as did remote showings for both buyers and sellers. So I think what you're going to start to see is that it has meant doing business differently, but it does not mean that we have a housing crisis or that people are not choosing to move forward. Now, what we do know is that unemployment is something that is probably going to be larger than we've seen in a long, long time. We got the original results that we brought to you in March, and the original postings were really 56% of the people claiming unemployment were in the industries most impacted, like hotel, transportation, restaurants, which we expect to jump back. This shows you since March 21st, the number of people each week that have filed for unemployment. Now, we will be on top of this on May 8th, which is Friday. The new unemployment numbers will come out. We do expect them to be significant. We do expect the news to talk about how dramatic it is. And for those people impacted, there's nothing good about this. However, it does not mean that it impacts the housing market or prices or what we're seeing in the movement of people going in and out of homes. So this is several of the different financial institutions talking about what they think in 2020, the unemployment forecast. Again, 20% is hard to believe when just a few months ago we were, under 4%. Anywhere from 7 to 20%. And how that rolls out, we will continue to watch. We will continue to see. And we do know that there are probably families impacted that will be more motivated to sell and price closer to a market price because time matters to them. So again, for people that are in the market looking to buy, there may be some opportunities to have more opportunity with more sellers hopefully coming on market. So what are the experts saying about all this? So Ivy Zellman, president of Zellman and Associates, says, supported by our analysis of home price dynamics through cycles and other periods of economic and housing disruption, we expect home price appreciation to decelerate from current levels in 2020, though easily remain in positive territory year over year, given the beneficial factors and record low inventories, as well as historically low interest rate environment that we're in. And Freddie Mac, they say the fiscal stimulus provided by the CARES Act will mute the impact that the economic shock has on home prices. Additionally, forbearance and foreclosure mitigation programs will limit the fire sale contagion effect on house prices. We forecast house prices to fall 0.5 percentage point over the next 4 quarters. 2 forces prevent a collapse in the house market. First, as we indicated in our earlier research report, U.S. housing markets face a large supply deficit. Second, population growth and pent-up household formation provides a tailwind to housing demand. Price growth accelerates back towards a long-run trend of between 2 to 3% per year. So all of this, as Mark Fleming says, is the housing supply remains at historically low levels. So house price growth is likely to be slow, but it is unlikely to go negative. So even though the economy has paused in place, it appears overall home prices will remain steady through the pandemic. Now, again, it's important to know exactly what's going on in your neighborhood. And be assured, when we have neighbors, and this has always been the case, that have a highly motivated reason to sell, and that could be loss of job, divorce, death, etc., what they do can have a temporary impact in the appraisal process and valuation of your home. So again, at this point, if you are someone thinking of selling in the next 3 to 6 months, now would be a good time to get a clear picture of what your own personal equity position is. And we would be glad to offer you that free evaluation. That being said, we will continue to bring you the latest information. Hopefully it helps to have the facts and not just the news media fear. Overall, in the month of March, we did see anywhere from 38 to 44% of the homes that were for sale were purchased by somebody. So again, what we are experiencing is, as everybody has noted, a lack of properties currently available for sale. And that is why we continue to see buyers being motivated by making strong offers and being diligent about this marketplace. If Jack or I can help you answer any questions about any aspect of this, let us know. We have taken all precautions to do business in a safe and healthy way. We wish for you and those you care about to also stay safe and healthy, and know that while this health crisis is very real with many people definitely impacted, we also know there are many people who need to get from where they are to where they need to be, and we can help you with that chapter. So that's what I had to share with you today. I hope that was helpful. And again, feel free to reach out to us and ask any questions or put them below, and we'll get back to you. And with that, have a great day.